Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video we'll be talking about, I don't know, Brexit. In particular, the continuing problems with haulage. And why are they continuing? Well, they're continuing because they're permanent and they will always be continuing. In particular, I'm going to be talking about the maddening position that hauliers in Northern Ireland find themselves in. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So one of the more ridiculous Brexit stories of the week was a load of crisps being held up for 2 days, travelling from Britain to Northern Ireland for use in Northern Ireland. So it's like a product moving from the UK to another part of the UK. And it was to do with rules of origin. And I see that Sir Bernard Jenkin, who's a backbench MP, but he's the head of an influential committee. He's the chair of the committee that actually has oversight over what the Prime Minister gets up to. And he was saying, he's a Brexit supporting MP as well, and he was saying how it made no sense because there's no threat to the single market of goods bound for Northern Ireland from Britain if they're to be entirely consumed in Northern Ireland. And, you know, sure enough, yeah, this is the case. But, and many of us tried to point this out painstakingly to Brexiteers over the past few years. It's all right you saying these goods are going from Britain to Northern Ireland to be consumed in Northern Ireland. How do we know? How do you tell the difference between goods going to Northern Ireland to stay there and those going to Northern Ireland and then going to the Republic of Ireland, which is in the single market? Answers on a postcard, please. And it's simple enough, really. You check with the paperwork. Now, I'll grant you that this crisp issue sounds more ridiculous than most. When you look at it simply, it does sound ridiculous. You know, the issue was that the haulage firm couldn't prove that the crisps were made from potatoes that came from the UK. Rules of origin, you see. For goods to be classed as British, it's not enough to assemble them in Britain. The majority of the key components have to be built here too, which applies as much to food as it does to, say, cars, where rules of origin is also a massive concern. The paperwork is key. Now, like I said, in theory, you know, you could try and argue again with a simplistic look at it is, well, if it can be proved that the goods passing from Britain to Northern Ireland were never going to enter the EU, then the rules of origin should be a non-issue. But it still comes down to, how do you prove they're not going to the EU? Even if you prove it's for sale in a Northern Irish supermarket, how do you know someone's not going to buy a packet of crisps and then travel across to the Republic of Ireland? Because the purpose of the Northern Ireland Protocol was to make sure you could have seamless movement there. Think about it. Jenkins said the whole point of the protocol was to prevent goods at risk of entering the Republic of Ireland, not to check items that would remain in Northern Ireland. The man is a blithering idiot. How do you know that they're going to remain in Northern Ireland without the paperwork and without the checks? Like, are you going to stop people who might go to the Republic of Ireland from buying a packet of crisps in Sainsbury's in Northern Ireland? Are you actually saying that? Don't be ridiculous, man. This is why it's so confusing for these Brexit supporting Tory MPs. They don't think things through. They're genuinely confused. They seem to me, some of them are arseholes, some of them are liars. Some of them seem genuinely confused to me about why Brexit is going so badly wrong because they didn't bother to take the time to find out how trade works. And when someone tried to point it out to them, well, they just saw that, oh, but you're a Remainer, so you're my political opponent, so I need to dismiss you. Anything you say, I'm just dismissing because you're my political opponent. Hauliers making these runs between Britain and Northern Ireland are, according to reports, a little bit fed up, to put it mildly. They are concerned that the government are acting like everything is going smoothly when it is a complete shambles. And why are the government saying everything is going smoothly? Because the ports aren't backed up with the feared miles of lorries. But that's not where the delays are. That doesn't mean to say there aren't delays, because we've been pointing out for weeks now, where are the lorries then? The lorries aren't going through the ports in the numbers needed to sustain our trade. You know, where are the lorries, John? Where are the lorries? Well, the Brexiteers might be clueless as to what's happening, but the haulage industry is not. They drive the lorries after all. An operator in Northern Ireland said that the choke points, it's not at the ports, you idiot, it's at the distribution centres. The reason you don't have miles of lorries backed up is because they're not getting anywhere near the ports to block up the works there. They can't get the goods onto the lorries to drive to the ports because the paperwork isn't right. And going back to Sir Bernard Jenkins on this one, he suggested that what we need to do then, there's some problem with the interpretation of the Northern Ireland Protocol then, we need to renegotiate the deal that implements it, to take account of the problems that we now accept are real, that we thought were project fit, turns out they were real. Unfortunately, as someone else pointed out, the problem is that the government have just dissolved the parliamentary committee that could have looked at that. The Brexit committee, you've just abolished it, Boris Johnson. Have a word with your boss, Jenkins, there. In reality, what we have here are Tory Brexiteer MPs realising that the problems with Brexit after it happened. And I don't know how they can carry on without a shred of an apology. Shouldn't they apologise for not accepting these problems beforehand? But they're just acting as if it's totally out of the blue. Oh, this wasn't predicted. Yes. Lots of people expected this, just because you didn't. And hauliers are saying that their income has dropped massively. I've seen a report, £20 million lost from that, trade between Britain and Northern Ireland alone in 3 weeks. That is not far off the loss to the entire British fishing industry. And that's just haulage for inside the UK, I'll remind you. Inside the UK. I dread to think what it is UK-wide between the EU and the UK, because that doesn't cover that. And we're actually having an easier time of it now. I need people to remember, you might imagine that the worst time for Brexit would be right at the start, and then it would get better. And you might accept that friction in trade means it can't ever get back down to what we used to call normal, because it can't, because we've put trade barriers in place, but it'll at least ease off. So February will be better than January, March will be better than February, and so on. No. It gets worse, if anything, because, I accept, for example, that some things will get better, of course. In time, people will get a better grip of the paperwork. In time, the systems that we've got that aren't working will be made better. But the issues that these guys are trying to point out are the ones that won't go away at all. Because the problem is trade friction that happened overnight. It's unique. You sometimes get a situation where a trade deal is agreed between countries and trade restrictions ease overnight. You sometimes get a trade war that can create friction on some goods overnight, but it's some goods, not the entire country's goods. But our trade reduction treaty, as Andrew Adonis puts it, created trade friction on everything, the whole country, overnight. And that's not something the government are facing up to. They seem to acknowledge the issues that are a result of implementation, the ones that could get better, even though they don't seem to be doing very much to make them better, other than, blaming businesses. Do you remember, earlier in the week when Boris Johnson said that the reason Brexit was so crap for fishing was fishermen filling in the wrong forms? But as someone else pointed out, it wasn't so much filling in the wrong forms, but filling in the wrong box on the form. If they'd ticked the "I wish to remain in the EU, please" in 2016, they wouldn't have screwed themselves over like this. I know some did. An awful lot did not. But those issues are accepted. But the issues that are inherent in Brexit, they will never go away. No matter how many systems start working or how much more skillful businesses become at filling in the paperwork, haulage businesses, importers, exporters, those issues are barely acknowledged. A government minister did earlier this week acknowledge that some of the issues we're experiencing are actually as a result of leaving the customs union and single market. But it wasn't a high-flying government minister, and they weren't exactly shouting it from the rooftops. In the meantime, hauliers in Northern Ireland are making it clear that job losses are coming by Easter if something isn't done urgently. And they're no fools. They know that the problems aren't going to go away by the government pretending that everything's going all right. But that's what this government do. They don't face up to problems. They try and throw an invisibility cloak over them. Or if people can't see the problems, then the problems don't exist. At least not political problems for us, which is all they care about. And so there's, with Sir Bernard Jenkins' phrase as well, his idea that, we need to do something about it, but it seems to be the interpretation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. Because he's misidentifying the problem, you can't count on any pressure from Tory backbenchers either, really. to improve the situation. And the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply Chains confirmed that 60% of firms have reported delays in shipments going from the EU to Britain. That's just one way, from the EU to Britain. Now, I want you to remember this. There are no checks on goods coming from the EU to Britain at the moment. We should be doing. They're supposed to be coming online in July, the proper checks. But they're not happening right now. So in theory, that's where you've got your least amount of friction. But of course, the lorries, if you're stuck in the outbound journey, well, we haven't got the lorries to come inbound, so that can cause delays, of course, if there's no lorries. If you can't get EU-based lorry drivers to risk coming to GB, because God knows how long it'll be before they can get off this plague island, or if the paperwork isn't right, just because no check, you still need paperwork for the electronic confirmations, then you still get delays. And I'd also add in this, because when I said earlier about it's actually going to get worse over time, not better, this is what I mean. January, relatively quiet. Why is January relatively quiet? Because lots of businesses stockpiled in order to reduce the need for freight in January, because they knew it was going to be a bit of an old mess. So what's going to happen in the next few weeks? You know, I said that when I went to the supermarkets over the last few weeks, it was clear that the instant impact for me wasn't a lot of fresh fruit and veg. It's got worse and worse. In a supermarket that I've been to for years, fully stocked, no, couldn't get any satsumas yesterday. Okay, I'll live. But the thing is, it started to include other things now. The crisp aisles are a little bit barer than they'd normally be as well. There's some things that weren't there. And I'm not in Northern Ireland. Just to bring it full circle, talk about crisps there. But those are my thoughts. So the situation is, February, you would anticipate there being more demand for freight. So if we haven't actually eased any of the problems, then we're going to have the same problems, but more demand. That's going to mean surely February will be even worse than January. And unless they start actually tackling the problems, and the first step to that is owning up to them, who's to say that March isn't going to be worse as well? And then what happens in July when more checks come online? More checks in both directions. But there we go. Those are my thoughts. We'll just have to see how it's going to go, but only a fool would think it's going to go any better in February. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.